Well, we're in the vanilla series between Sson and Gimix. Now, of course, a lot of people have expectations of the Kespa players, Andre. A lot of controversy between Gom and Kespa right now. But Sson is one of these players that used to be on the Air Force Ace, one of the first Kespa players to join a foreigner team. He's playing for Team Light Esports. He streams, actually, if you can go ahead and check out his stream, if you go ahead and find out on the listing of Team Liquid. But Sson has been playing a little bit. He shows that he's a little bit inexperienced, but still, he has pretty good control when it comes down to it. Those high Templars, landing the feedbacks, the storms was very good. But in the end, you were right. It was a lot of decision-making that costed Gimix, and the fact that he couldn't keep up with the speed of which Sson was playing. Yeah, and when it comes down to it, I mean, we saw a very inefficient build coming out from him in the beginning. That proxy gateway did absolutely 0 damage, and he was still able to win in a long macro game. That shouldn't really happen. Gimix just did so much. He forced out so many cannons. I think there were like 5 cannons made that game in the beginning stages. And I want you guys to think of it this way. Each cannon is a potential gateway. He could have had 6 gateways instead, or 5 gateways instead. But he had cannons just to defend because he had no gateways to actually produce units to defend him.
He's on 1 gateway and a Colossus. I think he had 1 Zealot, 1 Immortal, 1 Sentry, 1 Colossus, and 1 Warp Prism. It was like the biggest batch of misfits of Protoss units ever.
And he got Warp Gate at 10 minutes. Think, if you make a 10-minute Banshee, you win the game. 10-minute Banshee, man. That's a little
tough
bit
because not a lot of Terran players go for Cloak Banshee unless you're like Supernova or Puma. Like those kinds of players really experiment with Banshee. But I think it's one of those experience things, one of those things situationally. Like, for example, you said a Marine SCV follow-up all-in could have been devastating to Protoss, but how many times do you really get proxied on that map? It's kind of the things that you have to just have that immediate decision making, and it's easy for us to say from a bird's eye view.
Of course,
you have to be in that situation
but
to understand.
I do want to point out something really important. Whenever you're up against a proxy, immediately when you are Terran, once you fend it off very efficiently, there should come a point where you're like, an all-in is very, very possible right now, and my opponent has to be scared of something like that. They have to, because they've invested so much into a gateway and then the Zealots and not doing damage, so it's like they're starting with 500 or 600 minerals less just because they don't have probe saturation, they don't have their key buildings. So it's a big problem. So you have to actually threaten that all in. And I think that's one of the things Gimix probably not used to being all in like that. Or I wouldn't even say that's an all in, that's just like a silly build. Proxy, you just don't do that. It's like 6 pulling against the Terran. Just don't do that, man.
Well, given by the nature of you're trying to see whether or not he walls off. But in this case, Gimix is walling off. Gimix, of course, the green Terran player in the top right corner. Now, he did open up a lot more stably initially, but he canceled the gas and actually tried to go for a second barracks initially. So he was the one trying to initially kind of throw Sson off, and Sson was the one who was actually proxying. So it was a little bit of a confusion there. But now we see a very stable game. And Sson is, he got good scouting information, he sees everything, and Gimix is going to go for a fast expand. I would expect Sson to do the same.
And don't get me wrong, I played Gimix enough to know that last game was very uncharacteristic. I actually played him in TVTs and TVPs, and he is very, very good at multitasking. I think just last game, he... Think about that. You're like 10, 11, 12 minutes into the game, and you see this drop Colossus, and you're like, oh, what is going on?
Yeah.
What is it? What is attacking me? I don't understand what's actually happening in this game. And a lot of times it is that crisis mode that people just panic and they're not able to do all the essential things that they've practiced over and over and over again. And it's crazy, but you see this time and time again in even pro games. So don't count Gimix out just yet. He is doing a very risky build, though. This is a 5 racks opening.
Wow.
And what this is supposed to punish is any build where you go, oh my gosh, any build where you go for a Nexus first and then a Robo directly after that. Now, Gimix, he has to be able to... No, don't defend this area. There's no reason to defend this. You know there's no expansion coming out. Don't try to take this area. Take the advantage inside of your main. Know that you have the economic advantage. Tech up until you actually realize what you're going up against, and then you can actually do a lot of different things. But look at this. Pylon goes down. Oh my gosh.
And the Marines are not in position yet. The bunker's not even finished as well, so the Marines are going to take some damage before they're able to actually do anything. The Zealot doing a good job in terms of absorbing the initial Marine hits. Now Gimix's Mule that was immediately dropped also won't be able to mine. That's actually a very big win for a Protoss player. That's huge.
Oh my gosh.
If Gimix doesn't clear all of this out, I think he's dead. This position is way too powerful for a Protoss to actually have if he has all of his Stalkers over here, but this is exactly what you want to do.
Nice trap, though, onto that one Stalker, and another thing Gimix did was kill the probe that was trying to sneak up the ramp. Now, Sson still can take a very strong position on the low ground here and continue to really pressure, but now he has a massive Marines because the 5-Rax is really starting to kick in and immediately starting to deny a lot of the units that are immediately getting warped in. So this is a very good job by Gimix thus far to manage himself. Although, again, Sson is trying to micro as best as he can. This plan is very futile because he can't keep this up.
Yeah, Sson really misplayed this. There's no reason actually warping units over here. You're just cornering yourself, and the Marine count has been growing. So it's very, very unfortunate. The Mule has been taken out yet again. Remember, that Mule is so important because he's only on one Orbital Command Center at this point. And Gimix has to engage right here. He does not want another round of units to actually be warped in, but it might be too late.
Yeah. He let that pylon stay up. He was trying to chase the Stalker out of his natural. Instead, he's going to get another Stalker. Still has to be really cautious about a warp in his natural, but now it looks like Gimix has finally stabilized. Sson, is he going to just continue this forward? Yeah, he's still warping in units directly into, but gets the cancel. And this is just really tough for Sson, but I mean, he's recognizing that there's almost no turning back from this.
To macro from here, obviously, is just to take a gigantic, loss, I would say, obviously. Just because your opponent has 2 Orbital Command Centers, and you haven't even started your Nexus. That's not good. Now, of course, Gimix is going to put and apply a little bit of pressure, but he can do this because of how expendable all of his Marines are. With 5 barracks, you can do this all day long. And Gimix, I'm sure, is just going to keep this up until his opponent loses every single one of his units, because Marines are really, really efficient at this early game stage when you're cutting back and forth and you have a bunker to go back to. Yeah,
and you have that that anchor to match the range of the Stalkers, and as long as he can take care of this pylon as well, if Sson moves back too far, if Gimix deals with it, then there's no reinforcement point for Sson. And Sson is, at this point, just really insistent on keeping on the pressure, but now Gimix is starting to gas up, and slowly but surely Gimix will be really hard to break, increasing, especially with more bunkers popping up.
Yep. Now, here's the big problem. I mean, there is a chance for Sson to actually win this. Yeah. If he kills the bunker, he's actually in a position where I think he can just kite this all day. And there needs to be... nope. Okay,
he's absorbing a lot of damage onto the Stalkers, but he's being straight into the Zealots.
Wow, that's not good.
The Marine count gets whittled down very significantly.
SCVs need to be pulled immediately, and there they go, repairing that bunker. Yeah. My God, that was so close. He could have lost a lot more. And the second bunker is now up. So that's really going to solidify the position. Sson has no ability to actually move forward. He's going to continue on with this 4-gate, because where else does he go? But this is very ill-fated, Frodan.
And now it's to the point where there's 2 bunkers up. It's really hard to get a good concave. It's harder to poke in because the bunkers match the range of the Stalkers with the Marine in them. And now Sson is, I guess he's gearing up for one final attempt to poke and going to try to see if he can bait out another major fight like what just happened. But Gimix, again, just keeps getting stronger from this point on because he's going to get gas and he's going to start getting upgrades for his Marines. And that's just going to be really tough. And as long as he keeps a couple SCVs here and there for repairs, make sure that Sson never gets these bunkers down. I don't see any way for a Protoss player to be able to do anything, but he's going to use his Zealots to tank, immediately trying to see if he can snipe that bunker. He's going to get the top one, but he does lose a couple of Stalkers at the cost of it. And you can see that Sonn's just going to kite back, but Gimix is pushing forward directly into the reinforcement.
You shouldn't be doing that, really. You want to retain as much of your TPS as possible. He actually lost a lot from that. Gimix needs to be very careful, and now Marines are struggling up forward, losing Marine after Marine. But as soon as Marauders are incorporated here, nice deny over here from that first bunker. Gimix is really misplaying this. I mean, you defend your bunkers, you win. Just wait 30 seconds and get Marauders out, and then all of a sudden, Stalkers are completely null and void. Like, they can't do a single thing.
I'm confused why he's also really taking a long time to get Marauder production now, but now he's starting to now he's starting Marauders, which is very good for him indeed. Now he's starting to take a little bit more defensive posture, but he can't necessarily protect his bunker. That's kind of the strength of 2 bunkers directly in the same line, and now Gimix kind of has to fall further back, and Sson Stalker count is still remaining pretty high, but with Stim on the way, that is the hourglass for Sson. His supply count is very poor, but that's just because he's really keeping this all in, keeping on going, and I don't think he can really do this, but Gimix is still giving him lots of opportunities, but Sonn's not paying attention to his Stalkers, and he's losing a lot of these units. And this is The all-in that's gone way too long, honestly, Andre.
Oh my gosh. I'm surprised building armor hasn't already been upgraded.
You know what would have saved Gimix a lot of heartache? If he got the Neo Steel frame for the
If you got Neo Steel frame,
6
8
Marines.
Oh,
6 Marines in a bunker?
Is it? I'm pretty sure it's...
No, it's 6.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's 6. Why did I think it was 8?
This is the longest all-in that we've seen in a long time. Now, I have seen PvPs where the all-ins go for 17 minutes long, where it's just one base versus one base. But now it's starting to border that, and when Stim finishes, Sson doesn't have Blink, doesn't have anything. He's not going to be able to escape.
This has been the longest Stim in the world. 170 seconds. I never thought it was going to be so long.
It feels like an eternity.
It feels like an eternity, yes, sir. Yes, sirree. 14 minutes, and we're still at 4-gate. Not bad. Yeah. You know, I was going to say, sentries actually are pretty good in this situation whenever you're all-inning. The Guardian Shield, you know, you can't really count that out. Guardian Shield is just so powerful, but he's been using it for the most awkward force yield in the world.
Well, he does use it to place next to the bunkers to prevent units from being able to surround it so he can target it down. Oh, this is actually a really big flex of the muscle, showing the floating factory, meaning that Starport's on the way. And now Sson realizes he has to make a move now because it's going to be a little bit too late. But you see that immediately there's a lot of Marauders waiting right there, and he stims directly. Sson losing a lot of his units. He's force-fielding the Marines on the southern half of the expansion away. But there's just way too much DPS from Terran, and Gimix now stims. Sonn's going to lose everything, and GG has been called down after 10 minutes of non-stop back-and-forth poking.
Woo!
Gimix holds the 4-gate.
That's how you hold a 4-gate, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, don't poke out too far from the natural. He lost a lot of Marines, and if you're going to poke out, make sure you target the pylon. Because he was trying to chase the Stalkers all the way through, ran to a wall of Zealous, lost like 4 Marines here and there. But other than that, Gimix played really well and really calm, which was really good.
Yeah, I think if he made a couple more bunkers, like 4, he could have just been like,
just keep making bunkers.
All right, I'll be back later. I'm going to go get a drink. And he goes, gets a drink, and then he sees a GG because his opponent actually attacked into those 4 bunkers, and he didn't even have to do anything. That's exactly how you hold a 4-gate. Just get 4 bunkers, you're good. One thing, if for all you Terran players out there, a way to actually verify if your opponent has continued with this 4-gate, all you have to do is scan the natural. If you see a Nexus, put down 4 bunkers. That's going to tell you, I can just all-in defend because he has 1 move, or she has 1 move, and that's the attack. Yes. So put down those 4 bunkers, have all your SCVs at your natural, just auto-repair mode, and you can defend that very, very easily. Gimix, he was doing that the scenic route, but he still managed to take out Sson pretty easy.